This is Gemara and Succah Daf Nun Beis, all the learning for this month, the month of Elul, as we get closer and closer to Rosh Hashanah, as we get closer and closer to finishing Masechah Sukkah, has been generously sponsored L'Schos Ilui Nishmasa. It's the Rezel Basar Meir. The learning the entire Chabura should be a tremendous schos for Neshama. Of course, all the Chelim should have a quicker for Shleim Amen V'Megel Chaim V'Sar Shalom Tzim Rezel Zaras Kenendel Ita Vasim As Chayisei Yisol Mendel Ez Pezer Shavlei Yishom As Naamim V'Shavigir Shechan Shmom V'Tiyaz Nin Chan Rezel Milchaya Vas Mina Libracha Vas Mamusa Adin Eina V'Tin Min Zvi V'Vegir V'Vern Nechel Surah Nathil Huva Rivka Bas B'Shem Tel Zim B'Chlester B'Soig Shar Chali Yisrael as well as Chashidach for Yisol Chaim Ben Min Dvaira and Shir Miriam Bas Rezel Gittel. We pick it up on the bottom of Nun Aleph Amid Beis. We're at the two dots, about 6 lines on the bottom. B'Moitzai Yantif, that we said on Motzai Yantif, what would they do? Motzai Yantif, they would make a tikkun gadol. They would make some platforms in order to house the women's section for the whole Yantif, the Silchas Beis Shveva, etc. Famous Gemara coming up. Says the Gemara, my tikkun gadol, what exactly do they do? Amar Rav Elazar, Ka'isei Shashaninu, like that which we learned, Chol Ka'isa B'Rishayna, that the women's courtyard was originally chalaka. Originally, a wall was smooth. Ve'kvua gezutra, and then what do? They surrounded it with a balcony. Ve'eskinu, when they made a takana, they made a decree. Nashim yoshes milmala. The women were on top of the balcony, v'nashim milmata, and the men were down below. So that's what they did. They made a tikkun gadol. They made a whole balcony situation. Woman on top, men down low. Let's see a little bit more, and this is really some of the biggest fundamentals of the dini of mechitza, of separations, come from this Gemara. Moshe Feinstein very famously in his Shuvah uses this Gemara as the Makar, as the source for his famous halacha with regard to Mechitza. We'll speak out in one moment. Tanu Rabbanan says the Gemara, originally the women were inside, the men were outside. It would come to Kalas Reish, exactly how, whether it was because the men would sneak in, the women would sneak out, they would make motions to each other. But the point of the story is, it wasn't a great situation. His kinus, they made a takana. Said, okay, let's fix this up. The men go in, the women go out, everything should be fine. Says the Gemara, no way. It still came to frivolity, it still came to Kal's Roish. So his kinus, and that's where the invention came, the first balcony, women's section in creation. Women were on top, men were down low. It says the Gemara, Heichi Ovid Hachi. How is this possible? How could you do that? It says in the Torah, Hashem. Everything in written by the hand of Hashem. Allah Yiskil. That which He gave me, which is the source that we're not let it deviate one iota when it comes to the creation of the Beis HaMikdash. So how is it possible, asked the Gemara, that they created a whole woman's balcony? That wasn't part of the original design. Amarav, you know how they did it? Krash, Kachuv, Betarshu. No, the Chazal found the Makar, they found the source, they found the Pasuk. As the Pasuk says in the top of today's daf, the Beis and Aleph, says the Pasuk, V'saf tu Aretz Mishpachis Levad, and they gave a eulogy, each family on its own, Mishpachas Beis David Levad, the family of David by itself, Unishayam Levad, and the women were by themselves. So the pasuk teaches us that at the time of a eulogy, we're not sure exactly what, but says the Nebuah of Zechariah, what's going to happen is, perhaps, what's going to happen is that we're going to have all families separate, the man and woman in different sections. Amru, they said, it's a kal v'chaimer. It's a hesped, it's not a happy time. And there is no Yetzahara. Yet Amra Torah says the Torah Nash Levad and Nash Levad. Still it teaches us men and women should be separately. Now we're in the Beis HaMikdash at a time of incredible joy. And there still is the Yitzhara. It's not lost in Lavai when the Yitzhara is going to be destroyed. There's still a Yitzhara. Certainly, you need to separate the man and the woman, and that's where it came from, the creation of the balcony on top. Ramosha Feinstein learns from this Gemara, a tremendous source, says Ramosha, that the point of a mechitza, the creation of a mechitza, is to do one thing, is to create a separation between men and women, that they can't have contact, they can't have conversation between each other, that whenever you have a mixture, you got to separate it. And that is how Ramosha learns the dinim of mechitza, famous Shuvah Ramosha, where he discusses the height of the mechitza. And this comes from this point that we see over here, that the men and women were having too much interaction, so they separated and put men on top, women on top, and men down below. Says the Gemara, let's discuss this Nevuah of Zechariah a little bit. Says the Gemara, this has been what's going on by this has been. Says the Gemara, it was a eulogy on Mashiach ben Yosef who's going to be killed. We know lots of Lavai. There's going to be a Mechama, Goygu Magai. First there will be one Mashiach ben Yosef, then Mashiach ben David. Mashiach ben Yosef will be killed, and then Mashiach ben David will come. It's important to point out, according to some Shitas, the first part of this war already occurred. Mashiach ben Yosef's slaughter already happened. It's the Yitzhahara that was killed. That's the eulogy. They'll say that is the meaning of the pasuk. As I share. Excuse me, as I shared Dakaru, Visiftu Allah Kimisfir al Yachid. They looked towards him, the one that they have stabbed, as I shared Dakaru, and then they gave the eulogy. It makes sense. There's a tremendous hesped for whom? For the Mashiach ben Yosef. You're making a hesped that the Yitzhahara was killed. We should make a party. No more Yitzhahara. Why are they making a hesped? Simcha b'Olam Eved. You should have a party. Amai Bachu. Why are they crying? Answers the Gemara, Kedash of Yehuda, famous Gemara, how time sensitive to learn such a daf on the day that we're going to be starting Slichos, preparing yourselves for Rosh Hashanah. Hashem's going to bring the evil inclination. Hashem is going to slaughter the Yitzhahara before Sadiqim and Rishayim. Sadiqim are going to view this Yitzhahara as a tremendous mountain. Rishayim, they're going to view the Yitzhahara as a teeny threat. Everyone's going to cry. Sadiqim, why are the Sadiqim crying? They're going to say, how is it possible? A tremendous mountain, how can we overcome? That's where they view sin. And the Rishayim cry, and they say, they're going to regret. How is it not possible that we succumbed to such a small Aveira? Of course, we know. Lost lava in a world of clarity, it's going to be one of the biggest levels of busha is going to be when we see that all the little stupidities that we could call them, that we give into, that we fall prey to, is nothing more than the Yitzhahara posing as such. Kadosh Baruch Hu himself is going to wonder with them. Says Hashem. Hashem also wonders exactly what was stopping people from overcoming, and this should give us all chizik. We feel like, we can't do it. Of course you could. If Hashem gave you the Nisai and Hashem gave you the Yitzhahara, of course it's tailor-made. And we can overcome everything. Amar Ravasi. Lots of Yitzhahara today. Yitzhahara b'tchila daim l'chot shel buchya. Originally, Yitzhahara looks like a little weaver's thread. Ulb'sayif daim kavasai. At the end, it looks like tremendous rope, a hagal of a cart. Shenemar hevi mashchu avin b'chevle hashav uka'avois hagal chata. We see it starts off as small and it ends as a tremendous rope. When you do Averas again, it gets harder and harder to withstand. Which is going to be revealed. Hashem is going to ask the Mashiach ben David, ask me for something. What would you like? I'm going to give it to you, says Hashem. As the Pasuk says, and today he gave birth to you. Ask me for something and I'm going to give it to you. Mashiach ben Yosef Shenerak. So Mashiach ben David, which is the second Mashiach, is going to see Mashiach ben Yosef getting killed. Amar Lefana, Mashiach ben David is going to say, Rabbeinu Shalaylam, Eini bivakish b'chol l'chayim, I only want life. Amar Lai, Hashem's going to respond, Chayim achlei amarti kvar esnava alecha. Even before you ask for it, we already gave a nevuah about it that you're going to live. Yisvav lecha David, Avicha, your father, Shnemar, Chayim shal bimcha, nasati, Lai, v'goymer. So the Mashiach ben David really has nothing to worry about, he will survive. Darish Rav Avira V'Tamer Rav Yeshua ben Levi. We're about 8 lines in the wide lines. First one of the line is Levi. Shiva Shemos Yishal Yitzhara. There are 7 names that Kadosh Baruch Hu. Name number 1, Karu Rak, was a bad. Number Kitzur Leva Adam. Ram Menura, from his youth he created this evil inclination. Moshe Karu Arel. Shenema Rumasa Zardatam Levavchem. David Karu Tami. David calls it Tamei. Shenema leaves Arel Yelikim Mechlal Dika Tamei. He says leave the har, mean there's an evil, it's tummy. Shleima Garis Saini, enemy number 4. Shnemar, Imrov Sonecha Chilu Lechem, Vimotz Sameh, Heshkiu Mayim, Kikachol Mata Chaitel Raishay, Pashem Yishal Lecha, and Shem didn't repay you, Al Tikri, Yishalem Lechal, Yashlimenu Lecha. Yeshaya number 4, Karu Michshal, is something back, Shnemar Sulu Sulupanu Darech, Harimu Michshal, the Michshal is something back Midarech from the road, Ami. Yechezkel Kara Evin calls it a stone, Shnemar Visur says Leva Evin, Mipsarchem, Menasati Lechem, Leva Sar Hashem, remove our stone heart, we can't feel anything. We're desensitized to everything. Give us back a heart of flesh. And finally, the 7 names of the Yetzer Hara. Tani Rabbanan, the Gemara continues discussing the Yetzer Hara of Esasfoni Archek Malachem, the passage that we just quoted, and I'm in a distance, that which is Safon, that which is hidden from you. Excuse me, I think I made a mistake. I said Sfoni as in north, it means Sfoni as in hidden. Hidden from you, Yetzer Hara Shesafon, Va'imi Believe Shaladam. The Yetzer Hara which is hidden and is lurking amongst us. V'yidachtav el Eretz Sion, you're going to push it away to a desolate land, Ushmam to a place the Yetzer Hara, you're not going to be able to fight with anyone. As Panav Elayam, Hakadmoni Shazan Inav Mikdash, that the Yetzer Hara put his eyes on the base of Mikdash, a Rishon, V'achriv, and he destroyed it. V'harag Tamid Chachamim Shavai, V'safu Alayam Achron, and we're going to push the Yetzer Hara to the evil last sea. Shenama Shenasan Inav Mikdash Sheni, V'achriv V'harag Tamid Chachamim, Shavav Alu Be'ishu. The pasuk continues, he killed the second base of Midrash as well. And the smell, the foul smell is going to get up, and the stench will rise up. That the nations of the world leave, and they incite and they fight with the enemy of Klal Yisrael, of course referring to Klal Yisrael itself, unfortunately. The pasuk continues that he's done a lot of good, a lot of great. The Yetzer Hara incites and tries to get more than anyone else. Abaye heard a man telling a woman, and knocked him and he's aboard, let's go on the road. And Abaye says, what's going on? What are these 2 guys getting together for? I'm going to go save them, says Abaye. Abaye hides behind and goes behind this man and woman for 3 parsais back in the swamp. And then all of a sudden, they separate. The men and women separate without doing anything wrong. And they said to each other, that's it, we're finished. Let's go on our pleasant ways. And the company has been nice. They didn't do any Aveira. Amar Abaye, after Abaye is seeing this men and woman is seemingly unrelated, he thought they're going to do an Aveira. They didn't do anything wrong. They separated ways once they reached their destination. Amar Abaye, Iman Desani Li Have Lavi Matziluk Min Avshay, referring to himself. He says, Abaye says, if I was there, I wouldn't be able to withstand. Also, Tal and Avshay Bevur Dadasha. He went and he stood at the door of the base measurement Stayer, and he was in a lot of pain. Also, Saba, a certain elder came to Tanale and he taught to Abaye, it was such an important rule. The greater you are, the greater they fall, the greater you are. The greater the Yetzer Hara, telling Abaye, don't worry, be consoled. Don't feel like, oh, you're such a terrible person. It's not true. He has a great Yetzer Hara. Rav Yitzchak in the last line, gets stronger each and every day. Shnemar, as the pasuk says, Rak, moving over to Nun beis and beis, ra kol hayom, it is evil every day. Amar Rav Shimon Laki says Rish Lakish, Yetzer Shalom miskaber love kol hayom, gets stronger every day. Umevakish la misay needs her wants to kill you. Shemer Zav Rosh Latzadik mevakish la misay. Ve'el mali Hakadosh Baruch Hu shayis Eloi. If not for the fact that Hashem helps us, Eini Yachol Loi, we will not be able to withstand the Yetzer Hara. Shemer Hashem Loyaz Venu Biyadav Loyer Shanu Biyiv Shaftai. No, we learned to the nation of the very small. Ein Paga B'Cham Min Novel Zeh. This Min Novel the Yetzer Hara. this tries to knee you. What should you do? Mashcheu, grab him and bring him in Lebis HaMedrash. V'mevinu, if he's a stony muach, you should grind him up. And Barzel, if he's iron, whom is spices, you should splinter him. V'mevinu, nimayach t'chsev, have you got tamil l'chol mayim? U'ksev avanim sachar kumayim, the water will chisel away at the stone. In Barzel, whom is spices, say v'alokoyte very kayesh, no Hashem chapatish, you fight to sell like the blacksmith, the hammer, you should smash away at the Yetzer Hara. Omar Rav Shmuel Bar Nachmani, first word of the line is Nachmani Amar Rav Yoni said Yetzer Hara meisitoi la'adam b'olam hazeh. The Yetzer Hara tries to cause a person to do aveiros in this world. Umeid alav l'olam haba, and then he gives testimony against him in the next world. Shenemar mefaning binar avdoi v'achrisa yiyu manoin. The pasuk says you're going to be pampered, a mafunik in your youth, and then he's going to be a ruler at last. A manoin. Shkein ba'at ba'ach shal Rav Chia karin l'sad amana. They call witnesses manoin, showing us that the Yetzer Hara is going to be witness. What is this atbach? This is, and you put the letters Aleph Tes is 10, Beis and Ches is 10, 10, 50, 500. Any letters that equal those denominations could be substituted for each other, and therefore says the Gemara, the word manoin turns into witnesses. And that is what the Yetzer Hara is going to do. Ravuna Rami Ksiv Ravuna asked it as a contradiction. Ksiv it says in the Pasuk Yirach Zinunim Hita, that the spirit of the zinunim of Avodah Zarah of Sinos Hita is going to mislead you. That the spirit, this idea to do the Avera is Bikirban inside you. So what is it? Is it the Yetzer Hara convince you, or does it come from within you? Says the Gemara, originally the Yetzer Hara is going to mislead you, then it's going to creep in and it's going to be stuck inside you and become part of you, hard to rid yourself of. Originally, Yetzer Hara is called a wayfarer, a Elech. He's just coming and going. Then the Yetzer Hara sets up shop, and now he's called an Areach, a guest. He's called a man. He's the master of the house. Love, seeing the progression of the Yetzer Hara as he slowly moves in and more and more and more convincing one to do Aveiros. Amar Rav Yechon, the first white line. Aver Katan, famous Gemara, so time sensitive with Rosh Hashanah around the corner. Aver Katan, referring to the male organ, Yeshal Adam Mar Ivai. If you starve it, Saveya, it's satiated. But Masbiya, if you start to feed it inappropriately, Raiv, Mar Ivai Saveya, correct, that's what I said. If you starve it, it's satiated, but Masbiya, if you try to feed it raw, that's when it turns hungry. Shnamar Kamarisa Mesaveya V'Goymer. Amr El Chana Baracha Amri Bei Rav. These four things that at some level we don't know what these words mean, but God regrets creating them, whatever that means that Hashem regrets. But these four items, Shabarim, that He created them, Veiluain Galus, putting in Klal Yisrael into exile, Kastim, the people from Kastim, Ishmaelim, Yetzer Hara. These four entities Hashem regrets doing, whatever that means He regrets. Galus that Hashem says, what if I have over here? No, Hashem. It taken from me for no the charata at some level over the galus. Kastim dechsev in eretz. Kastim zayam loya lishmeilim dechsev. Excuse me, zayam lohaya Yishmeilim. Where do we see that Hashem regrets the Yishmeilim? Dechsev, as the apostle says, Yishlav ha'elam l'shaydra metuchais lemargizei el la'asher hevi elayah biyadai. That it says with regard to the Yishmeilim, the tents of robbers, they get greater. And then what do? They fight with Hashem. And Hashem brought with His own hand. The Yetzer Hara, where's the Yetzer Hara? The pasuk says, Vasher Rasi, Hariyaisi, the one who I caused to be evil, the one who I caused to do negative. Hashem is regretting having created him. Says the Gemara, Rav Yinisa, if not for the following three psukim, the feet of the enemies of Klal Yisrael would fall, referring to Klal Yisrael itself. The first pasuk that says, that Hashem says, I caused you to do that Avera. The says, we're like the clay in the hands of the potter, so too are you. Meaning that Hashem at some level also caused us. Basar, Hashem should remove my stone heart to give me a heart of flesh. Again, what do we see? These are three psukim showing that Hashem is ultimately going to remove the Yetzer Hara. Papa Amar, another source, Amar Af Mehai Nami from here as well. But as Ruchi Atem Mikirbacha, my Ruach, my spirit, I place within you. Another source of the fact that Hashem is going to remove the Yetzer Hara. Says the pasuk, "Va'arini Hashem arba charoshim." Lost in love by time of Mashiach, Hashem is going to see 4 charoshim, 4 craftsmen. My new who are these craftsmen? Arba charoshim. Who are these 4 craftsmen? Says the Gemara, Mechanav Arbizna Amar Rav Shimon Chasida, Mashiach ben David, Mashiach ben Yosef, Eliyahu, V'Koyin Sadik. The 4 people Asid Lavai. Says the Gemara, 1 second. Masav Rav Sheishes Yachi. If it's true, you just said that it's Mashiach ben David. Yosef, Elio, and the Kayin. Hainu said the meaning of the positive like Elah Kronos as Yehuda. These are Kronos, these are the hordes that forced Yehuda to be spread out. Hanu Lishuva Asu. And these 4 people coming to put back Yisrael together, not to spread them out. Amarle Shabbat L'Sefer. They go to the end of the pasuk. As Kronos Agoyim, they come to terrify them, to cast down the nation of the world. And Noisim Karen El Eretz Yehuda L'Zaraisam. They carried a flag. They carried a horn against Yehuda. They have to send them away. Amar Lei. So to this, Rav Shish's response to Rav Chana, Bahadi Chana Bagda Lamali. Why should I argue? We see that you are correct the way that you defined these 4 items. Now the Gemara concludes with a pasuk that says, and if there will be this place called, as we'll see in a second, Asaria will come to your land, if it's going to be upon all your palaces, all your palaces, you'll be set it up, 7 shepherds, Adam, and the 7 shepherds, and the 8 my new, who are these 7 shepherds? Again, 7 shepherds and 8 princes. Who are the 7 shepherds? Shiva Royim David. Who are referring to David Bamsa. David is in the middle. Adam Sheis Mishusalach on one side, Miyaminoi, Avram Yaakov and Moshe, Bismillah Shiva Avram Yaakov and Moshe, Adam Sheis Mishusalach, and in the middle, King David. My new Shemaina and Ezekiel Adam, Yishai, Shaul, Shmuel, that's 3, Amos Fani, that's 5, Sidko, Mashiach Eliyahu is the 8 different princes. Says the Gemara, will conclude with this. There are Arba Sulamais. There were 4 ladders that we said that the kids climbed up and filled up these tremendous goblets with oil. Tana Gavai Shalmaner Chamisha Am was 50 amos tall. Arba Yeladim and 4 children Birchikuna Biyadem Kadishem Shal Me'asim look. They're holding jugs of 120 look. Yibai asked the Gemara. Me'asim look Kulu Kidama Kolech. Did each and every kid hold 120 looks, or maybe together all 4 was 120? But really it was 3 lug apiece. Tashmal bring approval. B'dem Kadishem Shal. Shleishim lug. Shem kula me'avesim lug. Well, together it's 120, but each one only carried 30 lug. Tana ve'chein meshubachim ayoyoyser mibana shal barta. They're even greater than the kohen banim shal barta bas spices. Amru al bena shal marta bas spices she'neitel shtei yericha shal sharish. He would be able to carry up 2 tremendous flanks of the ox. Like gadol shal koch ba'elav zuz, over 1,000 zuz, monster pieces of meat. Malach ekev beside gadol, and he had to slowly walk foot to toe, slowly walk up the mizbeach, but they didn't let him. It's true. He was incredibly strong and he could carry up the whole carbon himself. But the other Kohanim wanted a part as well, because b'rayvam, more people, it's more of a mitzvah. My mishubach, misham the yokra, hani akir tfei. Elohasam kevesh umerubav loizakif achasumas v'zakif ve'etuva. And this is where we can conclude with the Gemara teaching us that not only that, first of all, this person was even greater than Barta Bas Spaisus. Excuse me, I said that incorrectly. Barta Bas Spaisus, no, I said it correctly. But says the Gemara, why are they more praiseworthy? Can't be the weight, the Yukra, Hani Akir Tfei, because the thighs of the ox that he carried up were even greater. So in what way were these kids greater than Barta Bas Spaisus? The Mizim must be awesome. Kavishim Rubav Loizakif. Over there, you're going up the ramp, which has a nice gentle slope. Whereas the kids are climbing up these ladders. They're very, very steep. So on some level, these kids are even greater, carrying up these 30 jugs of oil up a ladder to the top of these torches that lit up the whole Yerushalayim. We'll pick up from